Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exclusive author spotlight brought to you by UK Publishing House. I'm your host, Heath Adler, publishing consultant here at UK Publishing House, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you guys join us today. Whether you are joining us from UK, Europe, North America, Canada, Australia, or anywhere around the world, thank you for spending part of your day with us. And here at UK Publishing House, we believe every book has a story. And but behind every great book, it's an even great author. Today we are sitting down with an author whose manuscript genuinely surprised me. Before today's conversation, I had the opportunity to read the book called The Café on the Corner. From beginning to end, I couldn't finish it full, but yeah, I read almost all of it. And that wasn't simply another romance novel. I mean, it was a story about loneliness, about hope, story about courage. It was a story about believing that life doesn't stop because society tells it should. And at its heart, it's an amazing story. It's emotional, it's uplifting, but above all, it's incredibly human. And one thing that stood out to me throughout the manuscript was the emotional honesty. Rose doesn't try to create perfect characters. Instead, she gives us real people. People with insecurities, people carrying trauma, people who convince themselves they aren't worthy of happiness. And I think many readers will recognize them as a part of themselves. Another aspect I admired was the pacing, the relationship between Janie and Juan isn't rushed and it unfolds naturally. And it's an amazing novel where we all can learn a lot of things. And I also appreciate the courage behind the central idea. I mean, many novels tells us that love belongs to the young people, but this novel quietly challenges the assumption. It reminds us that companionship, connection, and even first love has no expiry date, and that's an incredibly powerful message. So today we are going to welcome, and we are delighted to welcome, the wonderful author behind the heartfelt novel, Rose Lainie. Rose, welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you, Heath.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us. Also,
Thank you.
Rose, I would like you to greet our viewers, say a few things for our viewers, please.
Right, okay. Well, when I was young, I always imagined myself as somebody else, a lady called Rose. So it seems so apt that I should share that name with as an author. The rose is actually a flower from Israel, namely the Rose of Sharon, which has always intrigued me a bit. And Lainie is just mainly an anagram of my second name, Elaine. Outside of writing, I spend time at home with my husband as we're both retired, which is nice. We can sit in the garden, have a glass of wine, and just watch the world watch the birds go by. And sometimes I'll meet up with friends in a coffee bar in town, and that sounds also really nice, and we can put the worlds to right. And hobbies, I love going to the cinema, theatre, reading, music, and of course writing.
Great. I always enjoy asking that question, as in, who are you apart from your life house, behind the door, behind your writings? And because readers often imagine authors living inside their fictional worlds. I mean, 24 hours a day. But behind every manuscript is someone living an entirely different life, just like you mentioned, and like simple life, living with your husband, and someone collecting experiences, meeting people, observing emotions, all of which eventually find their way into fiction. And after reading your manuscript, I want to tell you one thing here. I made me notes here. Yeah, it's about, I mean, it's clear you are someone who notices the little details, if I'm not wrong. I mean, the way people speak, the way silence can communicate emotions, and the significance of music. And those observations don't come from nowhere, they're born from living life. Now, I want to ask you here a question. I mean, one of the first thing readers encounters, I would say, before they even begin chapter one, is your dedication, right?
Mm-hmm.
It reads, "For Ian, my best friend and soulmate." One is Scandinavian for Ian. So when I
Mm-hmm.
read that, I immediately paused. Yeah, that was the correct line, because it tells readers this story comes from somewhere very real. And I want to know how personal is the cafe on the corner, how much of Janie, how much of Juan, and how much of this journey comes from your own experiences, Rose, please.
Right. Well, it's a difficult one, really. But I'll probably start from the beginning. When I was about 21, all my friends were getting married, or they were engaged, or had a partner, and I felt like I had no one. I felt like left on the shelf, and I didn't really want to be feeling like that. But I didn't really think that anything was going to change until I met Ian one cold night outside a block of flats. I won't go into details. And I took it from there, really. We became friends, but we were never kind of emotionally connected. But we used to see each other regularly and always say, "Hi, how are you?" and that. And then a couple of years later, one evening, I met him at a local disco, and he told me that he's bought himself a flat, and would I like to come up and see it? And I said, I'd like to come up and see it, which I did. And we sat talking till 3 o'clock in the morning, and came home, and I thought to myself, he is really nice. He's on the same wavelength. And then about 6 weeks later, told my dad we wanted to get married. And 6 months later we were. And that was 43 years ago.
Wow.
He's my soulmate. He's everything. He's been really, really good to me. He's supported me in everything, especially this book, and I felt I had to dedicate it to him, because he's just one special person. That's how I see him.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. I love every single word of it. I think readers really appreciate understanding where inspiration begins, and that is where Ian played an important part in your life and how he supported you. And not because they're looking for autobiography, because authenticity leaves fingerprints. And when I was personally giving a read to your manuscript, the emotional honesty felt incredibly genuine, especially the other character, Janie's inner thoughts, and those moments where she questions whether she's too old, too ordinary, or simply invisible, and felt painfully authentic. There's thoughts many people never say aloud, but yet you have written with remarkable compassion. And I have the next question for you. How would you describe the cafe on the corner? I mean, in your own words, as in, what's the story about, and what journey can readers expect?
It takes place in a small village called Bracken, which is situated in Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
And the cafe on the corner is situated as you go into the town, and it's on the corner just by the mini roundabout. It's next door estate agents. Next door them are hairdressers, and then there's a small Tesco's, and round the back is a bistro. And Janie goes there most days to have coffee and a slice of cake, and to read her Kindle, and just take time out. She's on her own. She's never thought about getting married, and she just lives life as more of a recluse. People know her, but they don't talk to her, so she really is a loner. And Mrs. Baker is the owner of the cafe, and she knows Janie more than anyone else, and she always gives her a little bit extra cake on her plate when she comes in, when she has a cappuccino. And
cappuccino with sugar or without sugar?
Oh, it's without sugar.
All right, please continue.
Yeah, and one morning, Johan walks past this cafe and he has to stop. He thinks, who's that? And he looks through the window and he could see Janie with her head down, looking at her Kindle. And he thought, I really love this woman. He fell hopelessly in love with this woman.
Wow.
But the reason he was yes, but the reason he was actually in Bracken was to find himself a flat, because he wanted to start living on his own and being independent and making some money through his guitar. So yeah. He can see that she's a little older, but he can't see her properly. But he thinks to himself, well, okay, I just want her. I just want to be with her. So he goes away and he thinks about it. And then he comes back a few days later and they first meet in the cafe on the corner.
The way he saw you in the cafe in the corner, it's like, even your name is Rose too. I'm going to connect you with the movie, of course, famous movie named Titanic. Her name was Rose too, and when Jack saw Rose, he fell in love instantly. So that's that kind of same kind of impact in your words, the way you are explaining. Of course, you are sitting in a cafe, and one thing I really admired, was that this isn't simply a romance. It explores grief. When I was reading your manuscript, identity, healing, even family, self-worth, again, music, forgiveness, and perhaps most importantly, hope. Well, you would agree with me on it, right? I found myself smiling during some chapters, and I genuinely worried during others, and that emotional balance kept readers invested. And I want to, of course, you are telling your story, but still, I want to talk about Janie. She's 55 years old. She's lived a quiet life, and she spends much of her time alone, just like you mentioned. And she's convinced herself that love simply isn't meant for her. Yet, despite all of that, there's something incredibly likable about her. You can't help but root for her. Where did Janie came from? Did you always know exactly who she was, and or did she gradually reveal herself while you were writing? And now I want you to continue the story, as in you met him, and then I want to know that did Janie gradually reveal herself while she was writing?
I don't know, really. Janie she's just a figment of my overworked imagination.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
When I first started writing about Janie, it was a short story. It was, they meet in the cafe, they date, and then she says no because she's older than him. And in the end, they meet back in the cafe and everything's hunky-dory. But when I showed this short story to my daughter, she said to me, but Mum, she said, I want to hear more about Janie. I said, well, okay, I'll do that. So another short story came along, and before I know it, I've written 3 or 4 long chapters about this lady who was let down as a teenager with a boy, and made a pact with herself that she would never, ever, ever speak to men again, boys, look at them, or have any kind of relationship with them. She was just so let down. And that's how Janie is. And she's just a very quiet lady, likes to live at home, watches Countdown, watches Loose Women, the usual things, except that she doesn't have a man or a family. And when Johan does come along, she's absolutely mesmerised by him. He's so very, very handsome, and being a guitarist as well, and with her love of music, it just felt like they were a real couple.
Made for each other.
Definitely made for each other, and were soulmates. And I know what it's like to have a soulmate, so that's what I wanted for Janie. I wanted her to eventually find her soulmate, because everybody has one.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they don't. Yeah, sometimes people are a bit, they think they've found their soulmate, and then down the line they realise that it's not working out, and they move on. But there you go. Yeah. And because also Johan has a past, she doesn't know anything about him at this stage. And as you probably read, you know how she finds out.
Yes. One thing I particularly I admired was that Janie isn't written as someone asking readers to pity her. Instead, she's independent, kind, and she's simply forgotten that she deserves happiness too. I think that's why readers would connect, because with her, almost immediately, I mean, there are so many people, especially later in the life, who quietly stop believing anything wonderful could still happen, and that is where your book, plays an important part, because Janie represents those people. And I think that's one of the novel's greatest strengths, as in you are helping those readers, as it's never too late. Now, I want to add here, there's another character. We absolutely have to talk about, because when Juan first appears, Juan, I don't think readers quite know what to make of him. He's charming, he's talented, he's handsome, he's incredibly confident, and he's also yet emotionally vulnerable in ways that surprise me. And that's exactly where I'd like to go next. Welcome back, everyone. If you've just joined us today, I'm sitting down here with wonderful author Rose Lainie, author of the beautiful moving novel The Café on the Corner. Before the break, we explored the inspiration behind the story and got to know Janie, a woman who has quietly spent decades believing that life has passed her by, but every unforgettable story has someone who changes everything. And in this case, that person is Juan. Now, we would be continuing our conversation, our podcast, as in I'm going to bring another question for our amazing author. Rose, let's talk about Juan. He's young, he's gifted, he's successful, and perhaps most importantly, he falls completely and genuinely in love with a woman who is significantly older than him. Now I imagine, some readers may initially think that could never happen. But as the story develops, it somehow feels completely believable. I found myself forgetting the age difference entirely. What mattered wasn't age, it was the emotional connection between these two people. And I want to know now, how did you approach writing Juan in a way that made readers believe his feelings were genuine rather than simply creating a shocking romance?
Well, at the beginning, we don't know much about Johan, only that he has had a really, really bad childhood. Yes, and he's been living in a foster home since he was 9 years old, and he's come through the trauma and that he'd been through in his younger childhood. And he isn't looking for love. It just turns up when he walks by this cafe. But he also needs someone to love him, and he has got so much love to give. He really has. Because unfortunately there was no love in his childhood. But there's a huge secret that I haven't quite revealed yet.
That will be in the sequel?
Possibly. I'm not saying too much.
All right. Yeah, please go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I have two sons-in-law, and when I first met them, they were in their low to mid-20s, and I can bounce off of them really because, you know, a lot of them one of them was, you know, fun-loving and, was always up for a joke.
Like jolly
The
kind
other
of guy.
one, it's just as nice, but completely different personality. So yeah, I bounced my idea about Johan off of them. Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that that one of the novel's greatest achievements. I mean, you never write Juan as someone fascinated by Jenny's age. I mean, he isn't trying to rescue her. He isn't chasing excitement. He's simply drawn to who she is. That's what it is, and her kindness, her quiet strength, her honesty, and there is an innocence in Juan that makes his love feel authentic. As I was personally continuing reading a novel, I realized that this wasn't a story about an older woman or a younger man. It was simply a story about two lonely people finding each other. And I think that's very important. I mean, important distinction. Another thing I appreciate, as in Juan doesn't fall in love with perfection. He falls in love with authenticity. He sees beauty where Janie only sees flaws. And I think readers will find that incredibly touching. Now, I want to ask you the next question, as in, one of the strongest threads running throughout this novel is music. You also mentioned that, and I also personally felt it when I was reading it. In many books, music is simply part of background, but in the cafe on the corner, it feels almost like another character, as in, particularly the recurring piece I made me note here is Cavatina. I mean, whenever it appears, it seems to carry emotion, memory, and longing and hope all at once. Now, can you tell us why music became such an important part of this story, and why Cavatina specifically?
Well, Cavatina is a piece of music that comes from a film called The Deer Hunter. Yes, you know of that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And for me, it is a beautiful piece of music. Not too long, not too short, just right. And throughout the film, it's played over and over and over and over. And I thought to myself, well, Cavatina is played by guitar.
Yes.
So Johan can play Cavatina to her anytime he wants to, or every time she wants to hear it. Also, she's a major fan of 80s music. So I try to sync up the music with the chapters not all the chapters, some of them, when they'll make sense when the person reads it. Yeah. Yeah.
That was one of my favorite aspects of the manuscript, by the way. I mean, music says things words often cannot, and there were moments where dialogues almost become unnecessary because the music itself carried the emotion. And as readers, we begin associating melodies with memories, with longing, with comfort, and even with love. And I thought that was incredibly clever. You did an amazing job there in those some chapters. And one thing I really loved that how music become the language Juan speaks best. And he's not always perfect with words, but put a guitar in his hands and suddenly readers understand everything he's trying to say. That's beautiful storytelling. And I also found it fascinating that Janie's own memories are deeply connected with music from her childhood, and it becomes almost a bridge between her past, her present, also, and the future she's never imagined possible. Another thing that impressed me as a reader, I mean, and I believe every reader would feel it, that was your direction to tell this story through two alternative perspectives. We hear Janie's thoughts, then Juan's. Then back again, writing convincingly for one character's perspective is challenging enough, But writing from the perspective of a young man in his 20s, especially with such emotional honesty, must have been incredibly difficult. So, question. How did you prepare yourself to write Juan's voice? I mean, did it come naturally, or was that the one of the biggest challenges during the writing process?
No, it was no challenge. It came naturally. Yeah, as I'm typing, all the ideas are coming into my head. And one thing that you probably don't know about the book is regards to Cavatina. It's also a song which someone put words to, and they named it Together We Are Beautiful.
Wow.
And that's what they are, both of them. They're beautiful together. That's how I see those characters. They're
Right.
beautiful.
Yeah. I have to compliment you here. I mean, because I never found Juan's chapters as in unbelievable. His voice feels distinct, and his optimism contrasts beautifully with Janie's caution, and where Janie's constantly overthinks, Juan simply feels, where Janie's fears rejection, and Juan's believes love is worth pursuing. And those contrasting perspective creates a wonderful balance throughout the novel. It also allows readers to understand the misunderstanding from both sides. I mean, sometimes as readers, we are silently saying, if only they would just tell each other how they really feel. But and that emotional tension keeps the pages turning, because they want to know, I mean, how did they really feel, what's happened. And that is where you did an amazing part. And being an author strategist, being your host, I personally want to add here that, again, hats off to you with this book project. Now, I would like to spend a moment as in taking about Janie's inner voice throughout the novel. She continuously tells herself she's too old, too ordinary, too plain, and ultimately reading those chapters honestly broke my heart, as in, because sadly, I think many readers, particularly women, will recognize those thoughts. Where did that emotional honesty come from? And were those themes something you always intended to explore? Or did they emerge naturally while writing Janie's character?
Well, Janie is me. Just a little bit. A little bit of Janie is me. From way back. No confidence, looked in the mirror, and I couldn't look in the mirror again. It's too horrendous. Always a little bit chubby, not, a bit like Bridget Jones. That's how she is. A little bit like Bridget Jones. Yeah. But deep down in her soul, she knows that she really, really wants somebody. She wants to be with someone, to enjoy life with someone, to hold his hand, to hold his arm, for him to put his arms around her and just love him. That's all she wants to do, is love him. And
again, I mean, literally, I feel little goosebumps here. The way you are explaining, because my sister, I want to relate my sister with Janie's. I mean, she was also, there are so many people like Janie's, but what I found Janie's, I mean, self-doubt incredibly authentic. I mean, not because she's weak, but because she has spent decades convincing herself not to hope. Hope can be frightening, especially after disappointments, and sometimes people stop dreaming, just like I mentioned about my sister. I mean, simply because dreaming hurts too much, and they are like, I don't expect much because expectations hurt by the end of the day. And I think that's something your novel captures beautifully. Another thing I admired, I mean, you never ask readers to feel sorry for Jane. You don't want to. Instead,
yeah.
you quietly encourages readers to believe in her. And by the halfway point, I personally realized I wasn't simply reading about Janie's anymore. I was cheering for her. I was rooting for her, wanting her to find happiness. And even every reader would feel that we really want her to be happy, wanting her to finally believe what Juan already sees, and that she is worthy of love. And one of my favorite qualities in this novel, that it reminds readers something many of us forget. I mean, the loudest critic we ever face is often ourselves, right? And Janie's greatest battle isn't convincing the world she's lovable. It's convincing herself. Now, while this is a beautiful story, undoubtedly, but it's also a novel that doesn't shy away from difficult subjects. I mean, childhood trauma, societal judgment, and in many ways, those darker moments make the hopeful ones shine even brighter. And that's exactly what I'd like to explore next. And in my next question, I would like to ask you, as in, one of the themes that stayed with me, I would say, long after finishing your manuscript, was the way society often treats women, of a certain age. Throughout the novel, Janie isn't just battling her own insecurities. She's carrying decades of assumptions. The belief that she's invisible, that she's past it, or that love belongs to younger people. But you portray those emotions with remarkable honesty. And now the question for you here is, I mean, was it always your intention to place those societal expectations at the heart of the story, or did that theme naturally evolve as Janie's character developed?
It just came naturally.
Yeah.
That people do think that if a man is a lot younger than a woman, what would he see in her as an attraction? That's what people are like. They're very shallow. So I thought, let's go with it. Let's go with him 25, her 55. But in his eyes, he sees her as a 25-year-old in his eyes, because what he sees is so beautiful that age isn't really a question. It's two people. Doesn't matter what age they are, where they're from, what the backgrounds are, they're meant to be together.
Right. Amazing. I mean, I really admire is that you never make this message feel preachy. Instead, you simply allow readers to experience life through Janie's eyes. And as readers,
Mm.
we begin noticing the comments she received, the assumptions people make, the way she has quietly accepted limitations that were never truly hers. But I think many women and even many men will recognize those feelings because aging
Mm.
doesn't just change how we see ourselves. Sometimes it changes how the world sees us. But um, and your novel gently asks, as in, if I feel it changes how the world sees us, why should I? I mean, why should it? You know. Another thing
Mm.
that again impressed me was the portrayal of confidence. Confidence isn't something Janie suddenly discovers overnight. I mean, it grows slowly. I
Mm.
would say very slowly, but one conversation, one smile, and one act of kindness at a time. That gradual transformation felt incredibly believable in her character. Now, I'd like to talk about Juan a little bit more because although he's optimistic and full of life, he carries wounds of his own. His relationship with his father is one of the most emotionally difficult part of the novel. And as readers,
Mm.
we witness not only emotional abuse but also physical abuse, and that was really
Yeah.
heartbreaking. And years of being
Mm.
told that his dreams didn't matter. Those chapters were incredibly moving. You cannot just you just want to scroll down. You just want to keep moving to the next chapter. And now the question for
Mm.
you is, why was it important for you to give Juan such a painful backstory?
Um, Again, it's something that kind of just fell into place. I have ideas going through my head all the time, but I didn't want Johan to have the most fantastic childhood or start in life. It was going to be maybe the family didn't have much money and there was no father around, and that he was left to do things himself. No, I wanted it to be more darker than that. I wanted him to be locked up and away from the family. I wanted him to yearn for love from his mother, who never ever gave him a second look. The only time he felt love as a child was with his dog, with dog Bunty. Do you remember dog Bunty? And his sister Kate, she's on his side, but she can't get involved
Yes,
because she knows if she does, then all hell will be loose.
I,
So she has to keep quiet.
I think
Of course, now they're adults. They can do what they like.
absolutely. I think that's where Juan becomes much more simply the romantic lead. I mean, he's someone who's survived, who's survived trauma, and someone who has
Yeah.
spent his life trying to prove that kindness isn't weakness. And despite everything he endured, he still chooses compassion over bitterness, and that says a great deal about his character. One particular
Yeah.
aspect that stayed with me was his relationship with music, and his father tried to take music away from him. That was again,
I know.
he tried to
Mm.
destroy the only thing that gave Juan purpose, hope. Yet instead of
Yes.
giving up, music became the very thing that saved him. And I thought that symbolism was beautifully written. You did an amazing part there, and perhaps because he knows what it feels like to have someone tell you you're not enough. You know? That
Mm.
emotional connection between them feels much deeper than romance, and it's two people
Mm.
recognizing something familiar in each other. And now, let me see. I think I do have 3 to 4 more questions for you. All right. Let's say when I was reading it, there was several moments where I thought, surely this is the point where everything falls apart. You know? I felt it. Did you always know how the story was going to unfold, or did the because without giving too much away for readers who haven't yet experienced the novel, this isn't straightforward love story. There are
No.
misunderstandings, there are heartbreaks, moments where you genuinely wonder where these two people will ever find their way back to each other. And so my question to you is, did you always know how the story was going to unfold, or did the characters surprise you as you wrote?
No, I always knew where it was going. I always wanted Janie to come out of the hospital and to spend some time abroad. She'd never been abroad before. Spend time with her old school friend, and eventually she'll book herself a cruise, and I go cruising a lot, and that's where I get most of my inspiration, on cruises. Look at people, watch people, not just people like me, people who are waiters, people who do the lighting in the theatres, anything. If there might be someone in a band, and the ideas would come, and I just wanted her to board that ship and find him.
Amazing.
I really did.
I'm glad you did. I mean, we all are glad. All readers would be. I mean, after reading the story, they all would be. And I always find that fascinating because every author seems to write differently, And as I say, let me give you an example. I mean, some plan every chapter, Others simply allow the story to unfold by itself. But when I was reading the Café in the corner, it genuinely felt like the characters had lived of their own. They make mistakes, they misunderstand each other, they react emotionally exactly as real people would, and that's one of the reasons I found the novel so engaging. And something I'd really like to compliment you on. I mean, you never rely on dramatic twists, simply for the sake of shocking the reader, or every obstacle feels earned, every misunderstanding feels believable. Every emotional setback has purpose, I know, and that's what makes readers keep turning the pages. That's what I did, because not because they're chasing drama or whatsoever, but they were emotionally invested in the paper. And some love stories rush the relationships, but yours allows trust to develop naturally. And every hesitation, every moment of vulnerability, or that slower pace makes the emotional payoff far more satisfying. Now, one thing I couldn't stop thinking about after finishing the manuscript, that little was the title itself, as in the cafe on the corner. At first, it simply seems like a location. I thought maybe it's about the location, or maybe a place where people drink coffee or cappuccino. But as the story develops, it becomes something much bigger. It becomes a place.
It's nothing about the cafe.
It's nothing about the cafe at all, and it becomes a place where people lives cross paths, and where hope quietly waits, where second chances begin, or I must say, almost like a character in its own right. I mean, so now the question for you is, was that symbolism intentional from the beginning, like choosing the title, or what is it?
I wanted the title to be nothing like the real book. I've read books about the cafe on the street, and the bookshop on the high road, that kind of thing. And they're all a bit kind of lovey-dovey, and you know what's going to come next. But I didn't want that for my readers. I wanted them to turn the page because they can't wait to find out what's coming next. And that's... But The Café on the Corner, for me, is a really good title because it tells the reader, oh, that's nice, there's a cafe on the corner. Oh, I'll read that. And then it gets darker and darker throughout.
It's like the place and the cafe. I don't know if you have watched the series Friends, the very famous series. They also have this cafe. I forgot the name of the cafe where all the time all the friends are sitting.
What's it called?
Central
Park. That's it.
Yeah, that was it. So it's kind of a similar place where they say people cross path, and I absolutely love that element. I mean, some of the world's greatest novels have places that readers never forget, and places that almost become home. Reading your manuscript, I found myself wanting to sit inside that cafe, while I was reading, and I was like watching. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to sit there and listening to the conversations, feeling that sense of warmth and familiarity, and that takes real skill as a writer, and amazing job I've done here. I will say again. I also love the supporting characters. I mean, as in Mrs. Baker, Mrs. Wilson, even the smaller interactions throughout the story, but they all contribute to creating a community, and a reminder that healing rarely happens completely alone. Sometimes it's the kindness of ordinary people that changes everything. Now, as we begin moving forward to the final part of today's conversation, I think we have established something quite remarkable. Yes, we did. I mean, The Café on the Corner is a love story, right? We all agree to that. But it's also about healing, about forgiveness, about learning to believe that happiness doesn't arrive when life is perfect, but it arrives when we finally allow ourselves to accept it. And that is where you are motivating a lot of people, a lot of the readers. And I personally feel our readers, our viewers would love this podcast, as in they all can see how your soul is connected with this book. And I think that's a message every reader can take away from this book. So, in the final part of today's conversation, I'd love to explore the lasting message behind the novel, what Rose hopes readers carry with them after turning the very last page. I mean, what Janie would say to anyone who's given up on love, and perhaps whether another wonderful story is already waiting to be written. Stay with us.
She would say, get out there, look for it, you'll find it. It may not come, quickly, but it's all there waiting for you. That's what she would say.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Now,
don't hide at home.
Amazing. One thing I truly admire about The Café on the Corner is that it doesn't pretend life is perfect. Instead, it reminds us that even after disappointment, after loss, after years of believing happiness belongs to someone else, there's always the possibility of another chapter, and there's always a door open. All you need to do is just try to open the door and just go in there. And I think that's a message many readers need today. Many readers, many people, they all need this message. Now, Rose, one of the strongest messages, I personally took away from this novel was that it is never too late to begin again. Whether that's finding love, finding purpose of your life, or simply believing in yourself, it's never too late.
Yeah.
And Janie's journey remind readers that life doesn't suddenly stop because we have reached a certain birthday. No, 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 no. Do you think society is
Mm.
becoming more open to that message, or this is your question, by the way? Is do you still think people struggle with the idea that happiness has no age limit? As in, like, you don't believe that? I mean, what would you say about that?
You know, you could meet anybody anywhere, and you could just click, regardless of what they look like, how they're dressed, or the look on their face, which tells them that they are significantly older or younger. Doesn't matter. If you feel it, you feel it. It doesn't matter
True.
who it is.
Amazing. I think we have spent far too long allowing society to define what different stages of life should look like, you know?
It's just old-fashioned.
Yes.
People don't move. People haven't moved on. You know, since the war. You know, the Second World War. A lot of people haven't moved on, and it's got to be this, but it's got to be that, and you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't do that.
True. You're too old to change
want to-
careers. You're too old to fall in love.
If you fall in, you can't help who you fall in love with.
True.
This is the thing, and it doesn't matter age or not, as long as the people involved are happy, and it's where they want to be.
As long
They want to be together.
as long as it is your peace, you know, it is where you find peace. Your soul connects, and it's like stories like yours quietly challenge those assumptions. You know, they remind readers that every day we wake up, we still have the opportunity to choose something different.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredibly empowering. Besides a love story, and one thing I particularly admired while reading your manuscript, that hope never feels forced. You don't simply tell readers to be optimistic, you know. You show them why hope is worth holding on to, and that makes all the difference. Now, without revealing any spoilers for those who haven't yet read the novel, when readers finally reach that last page, close the book and sit quietly for a few moments. What do you hope stays with them? What feeling do you most want them to carry away from the cafe on the corner?
Yeah, I think that they will want more. It's not finished.
Absolutely.
It's not finished, and they want to know more.
More. And that is where you did an amazing part, where you end the book. They would be like, what? Come on, we want to know what happened next. And that's one of that's my favorite questions to ask every author. I would ask you now, because every author book leaves readers with something different. You know, some books leave questions, some leave excitement, some, just like yours, you said, others leave sadness. And for me, your novel left something much quieter. I mean, it left hope. Of course, there is sadness, but it reminded me that we should never judge another person's story by what we see on the surface, you know. And everyone is carrying something. Everyone has battles we know nothing about, and sometimes all it takes is one unexpected meeting, you know, one act of kindness or one conversation over coffee to completely change someone's life in a moment.
Exactly.
And I think that's a beautiful message. There is sadness, but your message would definitely inspire a lot of readers. Rose, if Janie could sit here beside us today and speak directly to every woman watching this interview, every woman who has quietly convinced herself she has missed her chance, or that love simply isn't meant for her, what do you think she would say?
Janie would probably, well, it's difficult. I think Janie would say, just follow the path that you want to follow. If you've given two paths, you can either go left all right, you choose that path and you will find what you're looking for.
Beautiful.
That's
Beautiful.
what she would say.
Beautiful. I absolutely love that because I think Janie would tell readers something we all need to hear from time to time. I mean, she would remind us that we are often much harder on ourselves than anyone else ever could be. And that we are worthy of kindness, worthy of friendship, and whatever path you personally like to choose, go ahead. And no matter our age, no matter our past, no matter our mistakes, one thing again that is incredible in the novel moving about Janie's journey was watching her slowly rediscover herself, not because someone rescued her. That's a very powerful difference. And finally, I have to ask the question every reader wants answered from you. All right. I mean, having spent so much time with these wonderful characters, is another book already taking shape?
There is a sequel.
Can you?
I can give you the title. Shall I give you the title?
Can you give us a little clue about what's coming next?
It's called The Demon Within Me.
Wow.
And a lot of questions that readers would have from the first book will be answered in this book.
Or perhaps,
it's delving more into Johann's past.
Got it.
Deeper, much deeper.
Well, whatever comes next, I know there will certainly be readers looking forward to it. And after spending time with your writing, it's easy to understand why people connect with your stories. You write with compassion, you write with honesty, and perhaps most importantly, you write with heart, And before we finish today's conversation, I'd like to share a few personal thoughts with everyone watching. As someone fortunate enough to read this manuscript before today's interview, I found personally the Café on the Corner to be a genuinely heartfelt and uplifting read. What impressed me and my team, wasn't simply the romance. It was the emotional honesty. Rose has created characters who feel real. To all the readers, you would be turning pages as fast as Fast and Furious. People who carry insecurities, people who make mistakes, people who are still trying to figure what life is, how I can move forward. That's what makes them so relatable. It's not just romance again. Janie isn't presented a perfect heroine. I mean, she's vulnerable. She's cautious. She has spent years convincing herself she doesn't deserve happiness. And watching that slowly change was one of the most rewarding parts of the novel. And Juan is equally memorable. He's compassionate without being unrealistic, determined without becoming controlling. His kindness never feels performative, and it comes from his own experiences, his own struggles. You guys would see and find out in the book once you give it a read. And this belief that love is something worth fighting for. And I also admire the role music plays throughout the story. Plus, and of course, the cafe itself. I mean, what begins as an ordinary little cafe gradually becomes a place of comfort, hope, unexpected meetings, and new beginnings. Now, no matter how many times you have convinced yourself your story has already been written, because perhaps the best chapters are still ahead. So, Rose, I would like to thank you so much for joining us today, sharing such a personal story, such a beautiful story with us. And it has genuinely been an absolute pleasure discussing the Café on the Corner with you. Congratulations again on creating such a heartfelt, emotional, and inspiring novel. And thank you for sharing your journey with us all. Now, thank you to everyone who has joined us today for today's conversation. If you have enjoyed hearing about the Café on the Corner, I certainly encourage you to pick up a copy and experience Janie and Juan's journey for yourself. Whether you are a fan of fiction, emotional character driven stories, or simply believe in the power of hope, I think This is a novel that will stay with you long after you have turned the final page. You want to know more. And if you have enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to follow UK Publishing House for more exclusive conversations with many of our talented authors like Rose, behind the scene publishing insights, and exciting new book releases. I'm Heath Adler, publishing consultant at UK Publishing House. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, keep reading, keep dreaming, and that's what it is. Cheers.